Yeah.
Everyone, I would like to welcome you to the August 25th, 2026 Board of Education meeting. We are calling the meeting to order at 7:02 p.m. And if everyone could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. A reading of meeting notice. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of the public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provision of the Act, the Verona Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published in the Star Ledger, online, and can also be viewed by the public on the Board of Education's official website. Legal notices for the New Jersey public entities will also be accessible at the New Jersey Department of State's Legal Notices website. Copies of tonight's agenda and resolutions have been made available to the public via the Board of Education website. Dr. Riley, can you please call attendance?
Ms. Canodi? Here. Mr. Boone? Here. Mr. Perna?
Here.
Mrs. Farrar? Here. Mrs. Frisco?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Moving on to our I need a motion to approve our minutes from our July 20th, 26th meeting and also our confidential and special meeting on July 28th, 2026. Motion by Mr. Boone, seconded by
Second.
Ms. Knodik. Any discussion? Dr. Riley, if you could please call roll.
Ms. Canodi?
Yes.
Mr. Boone? Yes. Mr. Perna?
Yes.
Mrs. Farrar?
Yes.
Mrs. Frisco?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to our superintendent's report by Ms. Diane DiGiuseppe.
Good evening. The NJE GPA, the New Jersey Graduation Proficiency Assessment results are in, and as anticipated, the number of students initially identified as not yet graduation ready is higher than in previous years. That's consistent across the state. This is the new adaptive test. It's a very different, it's a different provider and different platform. So we believe that will level out as our students get more acclimated to that type of test. In English language arts, 17 students were initially identified as not yet graduation ready. 5 of those students have already satisfied the graduation assessment requirements through an alternate pathway, leaving 12 students who will need to demonstrate graduation readiness in English language arts. In math, 34 students were initially identified as not yet graduation ready. 9 have already satisfied the requirements through an alternative pathway, leaving 25 students who will still need to demonstrate graduation readiness in math. Mrs. Ackerman, Director of School Counseling, will communicate directly with the affected students and families and coordinate with their counselors and case managers as appropriate. As we have done previously, we will offer the PSAT to seniors as an additional alternative pathway opportunity. For those results, we will work with any students who, after following those results, we'll work with any students who still need to meet the graduation requirement through the portfolio appeals process, and that occurs during the spring. As I said, while these numbers are higher than we've seen in recent years, we were not unexpected. They were not unexpected given the changes to the state assessment. Most importantly, we have a clear process in place to support every student in meeting New Jersey graduation requirements. The seal of biliteracy, I'm pleased to report that 10 Verona High School students participated in the New Jersey Seal of Biliteracy program, and all 10 earned that seal. Students demonstrated proficiency in French, Spanish, Portuguese, and German, and 1 student earned the seal in 2 languages, French, and Portuguese. Among next year's students, we have the French, Spanish, and German, as well as Russian and Polish that are enrolled in the program. It is a wonderful accomplishment for our students and reflects both their commitment to language study and the strength of our world language program. Good news along the advanced placement achievement. We received the 2026 AP School Summary Report. Excuse me. The results reflect both strong student achievement and our continuing commitment to expanding access to rigorous coursework. This year, 62.7% of our students earned a score of 3 or higher on at least one AP exam during their high school career. In addition, 86.4% of all AP students earned a passing score, our highest AP success rate in 5 years, with an overall average exam score of 3.6. These results are particularly meaningful because Verona practices an open access to AP. We don't limit participation through applications or minimum score requirements. Instead, students who are willing to challenge themselves are encouraged to pursue advanced coursework. We know that advanced coursework, whether or not students get 4s and 5s on the AP test, improves their research-wise, improves their ability to do well in college. Where was I? Students who are willing to challenge themselves are encouraged to pursue advanced coursework, and our responsibility is to provide the support necessary for them to succeed. Our goal is not simply to increase participation, but strong performance once students accept that challenge. In several subject areas, AP scores exceeded 4.0, demonstrating exceptional levels of student performance. Results at that level also prompt us to ask the important question, are there additional students who are capable of succeeding in AP courses that have not yet seen themselves as AP students? We will continue using tools such as AP Potential, which analyzes PSAT and SAT data to identify students statistically likely to succeed in AP coursework, to help counselors and departments identify and encourage students who may benefit from these opportunities. Some of our most demanding AP courses, particularly in the STEM and world languages, present significant academic challenges and unique exam scoring dynamics. Yet Verona students participated in these advanced courses at rates that exceed state averages. That reflects an important part of our philosophy, excellence through inclusion. We do not achieve strong outcomes by narrowing access. We seek to open doors, support students once they enter, and help them rise to the challenge. Finally, these accomplishments are not solely a high school success. They reflect the strength of our entire K-12 instructional program. Students arrive in AP classrooms prepared to engage with college-level work because of the knowledge, skills, confidence, and habits of learning developed throughout their years in Verona schools. These results therefore represent a shared accomplishment across our faculty and schools. U.S. News and World Report. Verona High School was recognized again this year as one of the best high school in the rankings. We ranked 69th among New Jersey's 411 public schools. It's important to understand that this ranking includes not only traditional comprehensive public high schools, but also county vocational schools, magnet academies, charter schools, and other highly selective or specialized programs. When I take a closer look at the data and compare Verona only with traditional comprehensive public high schools, we rank 43rd in the state. This analysis is particularly encouraging when viewed in the context of community resources. Among the state's highest performing traditional public high schools, Verona falls toward the lower end of the estimated community wealth range represented in that group. Yet Verona continues to compete with, and in many cases outperform, schools serving communities with considerably greater financial resources. U.S. News reports a 96% graduation rate and a 53.9 college readiness score for Verona. The school serves approximately 630 students. And no ranking, I always want to preface this by any kind of data ranking set, whether it's New Jersey Monthly, which has not ranked since before the pandemic, but U.S. News consistently does. We don't make the Newsweek ranking because we don't have enough socioeconomically low students, so that one is not available to us. But no ranking tells the entire story of a school. We should always interpret rankings carefully. However, this is another indicator that the work occurring at VHS is producing meaningful results. Over the past several years, we've expanded rigorous academic opportunities, increased participation and success in AP coursework, strengthened instructional practices, focused on school climate, and maintained high expectations for our students. There's always more work to do, but Verona High School's performance demonstrates that a comprehensive neighborhood high school can compete successfully with many of the strongest and most affluent school communities in New Jersey. This is something our students, staff, and families and communities should be proud of. With regard to a staffing update, as we prepare to open the 26-27 school year, I'm pleased to report that all certificated staff positions have been filled, and we continue to recruit for several paraprofessional and substitute teacher positions, which remain an ongoing area of need as we approach the start of school. Tomorrow begins 2 days of new staff orientation. We welcome 16 new certified staff members for our 2-day program. The first day held here at the high school will introduce our new staff members to the district and the administrative team and provide extensive training in the Marzano-focused teacher instructional and evaluation model. New staff will also participate in a bus tour of Verona, led by Mr. Monticelli and Dr. Lanza, which is always a fun trip. Dr. Lanza points out where everyone lives. The afternoon session is focused on supporting the whole child, and then they'll have dedicated time with their building principals. Tomorrow will take place at HB Whitehorn. The shift will focus more directly to classroom practice and district systems. Staff will receive an overview of curriculum, our Atlas platform, and lesson planning expectations, participate in professional learning around classroom management, and meet with the Verona Education Association leadership, and ultimately receive training in some of our tech supports. The intent of the 2 days is not something to introduce employees to procedures, but to help them understand who we are as a district, what we value instructionally, how we support students, and the expectations that define teaching and learning in the Verona Public Schools. Next week, we will welcome our staff back with our annual Convocation and Professional Development Day, which we launch the 26-27 school year and introduce this year's instructional focus. This year's focus is aligned by design, driven by purpose. The convocation will begin by reconnecting staff to Verona's mission and vision, welcome new members of Team Verona, recognizing staff milestones, and celebrating successes across our schools. A major focus of the convocation will be on where we've been and where we're going instructionally. Over the past several years, our professional learning has moved deliberately from understanding standards and rigor to clarifying learning through standards-aligned targets to defining success through student-friendly success criteria. This year, the focus shifts to aligning the work, ensuring that the tasks students are asked to complete truly reflect what they are expected to know and be able to do. Staff will also explore a broader idea of educational coherence and the importance of aligning district strategy, district curriculum, classroom instruction, assessment, and student outcomes. The message is that alignment is not simply a slogan, but a structure that helps move us from fragmented initiatives and reactive practices toward a more coherent, purposeful system focused on student learning. Another important theme will be preparing students for a rapidly changing global community. This presentation addresses current concerns about the impact of technology and excessive screen time on children's cognitive, social, and emotional development, while emphasizing protective instructional practices such as independent thinking, productive struggle, deeper learning, critical thinking, resilience, and social learning. Staff will be challenged to think carefully about when technology adds value and when students benefit more from sustained thinking, interaction, and productive struggle. The convocation will also preview the district's 26-27 professional development plan, which will continue to work throughout the year. The Open Professional Development Day, which will include turnkey sessions from the workshop that BP provided for our administrators and teachers. A legal refresher, Mr. Trent is coming to do a legal refresher for our teachers across the day, and school safety training with the Verona Public Police Department. Subsequent professional learning will focus on understanding learners and student data, planning from the standards, supporting neurodivergent students, co-teaching, effective ELA questioning, celebrating successful practices already occurring in our schools, and ultimately strengthening the alignment between standards, instructional tasks, and rigor. The overarching message for the year is that coherence, intentionality, and alignment matter, and that every classroom, department, and district system should work together in the service of our shared purpose, preparing students to thrive in an increasingly complex and changing world. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Ms. Studo?
Yeah, I just have one. You mentioned the college readiness score.
number as an indicator? What is that?
You know what?
What does that number mean?
I'm gonna have to go into their matrix and dig the mathematics out for
Okay,
that.
sure.
I will do that for you, but I'm not gonna do it tonight because I gotta find it. I promise next meeting I will have that though.
Thank you.
I just don't remember.
No, that's,
Thank you. Moving on to our Business Administrator's Report, Dr. James Riley.
Good evening, everybody. I have an update for the board on a few of our facilities issues that have been ongoing. Before I get to the slideshow, you can put it up, Joga. An update on the playground situation. As promised, we've continued to push there, and we have delivered our demand for arbitration. The demand was received, it was approved, and we've selected an arbiter. The next process, after this selection, a meeting has occurred in which a schedule has been agreed upon between the two sides. And so we now have a schedule that includes a submission of all of the detailed reports about the current condition, the engineering and environmental reports, a schedule for when the responsive submissions are due, when the responses to the submissions can be submitted, when the site inspections will happen, and ultimately a final hearing date by January of 2027. So hopefully, if there are no issues, and there shouldn't be, because now we have an agreed upon schedule, that the arbiter will keep us on task and keep our adversary on task, and we will have a resolution by the first of the year or into January. So that's encouraging. The next thing is going to be part of the presentation, the ongoing saga about the floor, the main floor at Forest School has been ameliorated and fixed. And I look forward to showing that to you in just a moment. So I'm going to go through and present some of the facilities and maintenance work that's been going on. This is an opportunity that I like to do yearly. At the end of the summer, I like to do them after long breaks as well, when we've had some time to accomplish some meaningful projects. So this is an opportunity for us to celebrate all the work that goes in over the summer. And I think there's some really meaningful moves forward that we're able to make. The Buildings and Grounds Director and I conducted walkthroughs of all the buildings just the other day to prep for the opening of school, as well as for our QSAC. We've got a lot of compliance measures to meet this year, so we're starting quite early on all of that. So we've already kind of done a once pass through in preparation for QSAC, and we look forward to that. So in terms of the maintenance around the district, painting in every school, we've done a ton of painting. And I want to, personally thank our staff and our maintenance for all their work here. Hallways and classrooms, ceilings that were in need of painting at F&B, the principal's office, hallways and handrails at HBW, the main lobby and hallways, and we'll show you that in a second. Some classrooms and hallways at Lanning, as well as doorways, and the exterior columns will be done tomorrow here at the high school. I'm going to show you lots of masonry and curbing. The winter was not kind to our facilities and our masonry. And so we took the opportunity to do a considerable amount of masonry, and I'm going to show you that in a second, as well as railing repairs at F&B and Forest. Now, this is in addition to all of the deep cleaning, the normal deep cleaning that goes into the year. A couple of people commented when you walked in on how shiny the floors are. So all of the floors were stripped and waxed. There's deep cleaning of all surfaces, windows. That's normal part of summer cleaning as well. But picture says 1,000 words, and nothing says more than the before and after of horrible tripping hazards of the ADA mats that are on the curvatures and the walkways, and our maintenance staff replaced several of them, and you'll notice that as you get around the district. So before and after of the curb outside the music suite and along the tennis courts. Just today completed some appointment of the steps at HBW, and I think the building looks great with the sky in the background. The building looks really good. At HBW, the entry foyer has beautiful new columns. And they're wraps, yeah, those are wraps. So the aforementioned forest, you know that this was an ongoing issue whereby the VCT flooring that was in existence 3 years ago failed. It was replaced under warranty once and then failed again, and it wound up, as I reported earlier last year, that it was not under warranty. It turned out that once we did strip up the floor, we found out why the floor failed. And it failed because it wasn't prepared properly the first time. Had it been replaced again, it would have failed. We finally did this job correctly. So it was diamond grind all the way down to the 100-year-old concrete, and it was replaced. So it was replaced with an epoxy surface, and on the right there you see the flake that we designed with Mr. Monticelli. And when you get an opportunity to walk the building, I encourage it because it's a really beautiful space. So on the left here is in construction. This was done over last weekend. And the contractor was kind enough to squeeze us in and get this done before we welcome our staff back. So this is the floor flaked before it was finished. There's a little before and after shot. So on the right, if you looked really closely, you can see some of the bubbling of the floor on the old VCT tile, and not even old, it was 2 years old, but failing VCT tile versus before the last coat on the left, a little before and after here as well. And finally, a beautiful shot of the floor from side to side. And so that cures in, it's ready to be walked on in 1 day. So it was ready to be walked on today. And it'll be fully cured in 7 days. And when you get an opportunity to check it out, I welcome you all to do so.
Dr. Riley, real quick.
Yes.
You mentioned that when you stripped it down, the floor was never properly prepared. Is there any recourse we have on the original prepared, or is it not juiced up or squeezed on that?
It's not going to be, because the fight and the cost that it would take to fight that is well beyond what this cost us to do just on one level. And incidentally, the second floor will fail. It already is failing in many areas. And we already have a plan in place, already have a quote, just didn't have enough money accessible given our limitations from the budget wise. But should we find ourselves in a favorable position towards the end of the year from a maintenance perspective, because again, these are coming out of the funding for this comes out of general maintenance. So if we have an agreeable winter and we can save some money on normal maintenance costs, hopefully we can accomplish the second floor before the end of this year. And if not, we'll include it in the fiscal '28 budget.
Just on that point really quickly, along those lines, did any of the maintenance work represent, I guess, kind of like unforeseen costs that could have the potential to impact us from a budgetary standpoint, or is all of it kind of just well in line with like what the expectations were with regard to the maintenance?
It's a great question. So what we generally do is target those needs versus wants, because we have extensive lists of both. But in this case, it was really identifying those things that if they were left undone would cost us more down the road. So the appointment work and all the concrete work left undone, not only is it unsightly and unsafe, but it would further deteriorate as the weather, weather does what weather does, science takes over, and then down the road, it would be a much more costly repair. So we're identifying those costs that we can attribute some of our maintenance budget towards in order to offset any further potential damage. And so just today, you saw the installation of the scoreboard finally get going. Actually, it started yesterday. So on the left here, it's kind of hard to see, but the 3 posts went in and were cemented in. The scoreboard was erected today. And there's just the top piece of it, there's one piece, additional piece that is going to be put up over top with our mascot. And before he left today, he was able to move the flagpole as well. Yeah, and so the flagpole is now moved over there. The electrician will be here tomorrow. The outing, the power outing today was not as a cause of the installation of the scoreboard. No electrical was done today. That will be done tomorrow. And then the flagpole will be illuminated and the scoreboard should be ready to go fully by Thursday for Friday's game.
And just for the community's edification, this scoreboard project was important for a variety of reasons. Can you underscore what those reasons were? I mean, why it was imperative that we have this project prepared?
Yeah, so the failure of the old scoreboard was unfortunate, and unfortunately, we incurred a cost here. However, the functionality of the scoreboard is required for NJSIAA participation in every sport. And you'll see later in the year that there are new NJSIAA requirements that specifically for basketball that will require a shot clock and things like that. So those requirements, these items and this equipment is required for the participation of our students.
I know that there was the funding relative to the scoreboard.
Yeah.
Can you just refresh our collective memories with regard to how that was funded?
So that was a withdrawal from our reserves accounts. So that was not funded by the general, it was funded from the reserve account.
Was there not a donation or something that was?
There was a partial donation to offset the last part that will be put over is a canopy over top, and then the sign at the bottom to maintain the field under the Soletto name. A donation was made to offset that cost as well. So I just want to take the opportunity once again to publicly thank all of our custodial maintenance staff. We're very fortunate to have these professionals work really, really hard throughout the summer to accomplish that, which I was able to show you here, and so much more that just kind of goes into the daily maintenance. But it's just a ton of work, and it literally takes the entire summer to do. And we're very thankful to have these people to do it. And that's my report.
Thank you. Moving on to committees. We have facilities report, but I think you covered mostly everything, so we
Pretty
could
much.
go on to finance.
The only thing I would add is the getting additional quotes for the press box.
Yes, so
Right.
I'll be back to the committee. I was hoping that we would be ready to move, if not at this meeting, at the first meeting in September, but we were able to reach out to one additional vendor to secure an additional competitive quote to make sure that we truly are getting the best possible equipment for the best possible price.
And then Dr. Riley, I meant to ask this in our committee meeting and didn't, but the roof leaks that are covered under warranty, are we still waiting on that company
Yeah.
to come back and fix it because we can't really do it ourselves or hire it out?
Yeah, so we've had a very wet summer, and with some of the storms notwithstanding, the one we even had Sunday morning, that dumped almost 2 inches of rain in the matter of a half an hour. We had 13 roof leaks in virtually all of the buildings. Of those 13, 2 are outside of warranty repair. And we've already secured competitive quotes for those. They will be fixed. And we are very fortunate in that we have, relative to many other districts and many other old buildings, we have a relatively good building envelope. So, we want to start with a strong building envelope. We want to make sure that these roofs are in good repair. And those leaks that I referred to earlier, some of those are routine. Over time, without going down the rabbit hole too much, the scuppers, you know, kind of settle and things slip a little bit, and then water finds a way to infiltrate the building. That's what the case was in a few of these. So it's a pretty easy repair. It's covered under warranty. They come out and they do some of that. And like I said, the two that were not under repair or under warranty are being repaired.
And will this have any impact on when the kids, potential impact when the kids come back to school and we get a bad storm when the kids are in school, like classrooms?
Knock on wood, it should not.
Okay.
Some of them were in offices. There's the two last ones that were not under repair or not under warranty. One was an administrative office, the other was in a faculty bathroom.
Okay.
You. Moving on to finance. Did you meet for finance?
Yes, Mr. Perna, you can correct me where I'm overlooking anything, but a large portion of Dr. Riley's presentation also overlapped with the finance, but I will add a couple of things. We discussed how we are preparing for our fiscal year 26 audit. We are preparing for that. We conducted, in another example of ongoing efficiencies, we conducted a PCR review, or I should say Dr. Riley conducted a PCR review to streamline just how we are accounting for some of our budget and the staffing and how that impacts on the bottom line. And then, as Dr. Riley alluded to, setting an agenda for opening bids and contracts on some of our building maintenance programs, as well as some savings in our athletic transportation and our paraprofessional services. And then everything else was astutely covered in your presentation. Mr. Perna, did I get just about everything there?
And then just the tuition rate increases?
Thank you.
Yes, those were approved in previous meetings as
Yep.
well. And I just want to clarify, the PCR review is a good budgetary practice, but I have to give Mrs. Di Giuseppe an awful lot of credit because there's an awful lot of her time that went into working with me to right-size all of that. And that puts us in a really good place. Whereas we can track our known expenses, right? Our largest expense are our people. And we can keep track of that so that we can adequately make any transfers that are necessary, and then hopefully make adequate and accurate projections for surplus moving forward.
I had never been in the position control roster before. It's not really a function of what the superintendent does. But I gotta tell you, I'm an expert now.
She is.
We had, yeah, it's a complicated system, but the way it works is, that's each person has a unique position, and it's linked to a charge to account. They were, I would say, a rough estimate, 45% were completely incorrect. And I'm still working, the teachers are done. Principals are done, all certificated staff is done. I'm now working I finished the registered behavior technicians. I'm working on the paras. And it's slow work, but it will be done.
And just to underscore what I believe Dr. Riley mentioned here is that the whole purpose of this is to get us closer to a no surprise environment. That, to me, seems for the public what the takeaway should be here.
Yeah. The only thing I would add is we had a long finance committee meeting because there was a lot to cover, partly because it's just been slower in the summer. But I think Dr. Riley's done a really good job, and I think I walked away relatively excited from that meeting and consolidating some of our vendor contracts and renegotiating for better prices, but actually more services at the same time. So things like transportation, HVAC, which will come up tonight for some of the budget approval stuff. But thank you very much for all your hard work with that, because I think the district's going to be in a much better position with some of those specific things this year and going forward.
Yeah, thank you.
And one other thing in terms of finance, I mean, I saw it on our bills list. I've seen it every year, and it was probably more appropriate for me to ask in the superintendent's report. But it's a standard protocol that we're paying And the reason I bring this up, because it was headline news in the New York Times today about concussion protocols. And we pay a very small bit for concussion training and support. And as we're getting into the fall sports season, can we just spend a quick moment on why this is important and how our, the adults that are supervising our children, how they're trained for this and how it makes us safer when we're on the field?
Well, I mean, concussion syndrome in juvenile sports and K-12 sports is a huge problem. So in not having, prior to the requirement of training, most coaches were not trained in order to recognize the signs of concussion. So students that get repeated concussions, and I'm going to say Dr. Riley could probably speak to this better than I can because I am not an athletics person, and he is. But concussion syndrome can end a student's career in sports, and being able to identify signs of concussion. We have Dr. McInerney, who is our school physician for football, so he is on top of our football players, and Dr. Palacios, who does the rest of our school physician work. But we also contract with a concussion. It's a concussion protocol. I mean, it's a straight protocol that we use an outside firm to do, but we also train our coaches on how to administer it. I'm sure Mr. Apodisian also was trained, as he was a coach in his prior district.
So that cost is basically for the program that administers a baseline concussion test for all athletes, and that's required by the NJSIAA.
Right.
Should an injury occur, then you have a baseline to which to compare.
Question on that, do we have metrics on how many families opt out? Because you can opt out of that. Families can decide not to participate in the baseline testing. Do we know how many kids are actually
I don't,
participating
but I
in
can get that
baseline testing?
information for you.
But just like a point of curiosity with regard to like.
Can't imagine why anybody would want to opt out of that. I mean,
A lot of people opt out of that.
really,
Yes.
I'm surprised.
So, yeah. I mean, anecdotally, right? I had kids across like multiple sports at the high school, and a lot of kids, they do opt out.
And it's scary because I mean, the first concussion is always bad, of course, but if you have a second concussion while you are still recovering from that first, that can be lethal.
Devastating. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not just for, the headline sports of like football. This is for every sports program that we have that this is. Yep.
So before we move on to the next, I do have an answer for you. The College Readiness Index is measured by the proportion of schools' 12th graders who took and earned a qualifying score, so 3 or better, on the advanced placement test. It also measures IB. We don't participate with IB here. There are 2 elements. One is participation rate of the number of 12th grade students in the academic year. So this is going back to 23-24. So we know just from this metric that next year's score will be stronger because we did better on the AP test. We took at least one AP test in their senior year and divided by the total number of 12th graders in the school. The other element is a quality adjusted participation rate defined by the number of 12th graders in that 23-24 academic year who took and earned a qualifying score, which for AP is 3 or higher, on at least one AP test by the end of their senior year divided by the number of 12th graders in that school. So that's the answer.
And again, that number is a very optimistic number. And as you said, that's trending in the right direction.
Yeah.
Thank you. Moving on to our public comments on any agenda action items. If you have anything that you would like to discuss that we are voting on, please come to the podium and state your name, and you will have 3 minutes. Hello.
I'm Keith Pajonas. I'm a Verona resident. I just had 2 questions. One, I was just curious about D2, the YMCA. What is that for? What is the cost D, Delta T?
Oh,
YMCA?
it's, the YMCA contracts, that's our aftercare and before care
Aftercare.
provider. Yes, at all 4 schools, all for elementary, the YMCA participates. They pay us rent and they collect an income to, provide before and aftercare.
Okay, got it. And so it's cash flow neutral?
It's not cash flow neutral. We make
money.
out on that, yeah.
Okay, cool.
And we also have Executive Kids, which does a secondary preschool and before and after care at Brookdale.
My kids used aftercare. It was great. So thank you. And then Echo 5, E5. So the air conditioning, I was wondering how this is being funded. Is it being funded through the maintenance reserve? Is it being funded through cash flow? Is it a budgeted item? I know you're at the bidding stage, but I'm just curious how that's going to impact the overall budget. Thank you. Thank you for answering my question.
There any other? Just state your name, please. Thank.
Okay. We said the playgrounds is an arbitration, and I'm sorry, I missed when that, like, first discussion must have happened, but does that mean playground repairs will not be happening until something gets sorted out with, I guess? Yes?
That's correct.
Okay,
Yeah,
we're
we've
getting a
been in
lot of-
litigation with them for 2 years, so,
2 years.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're getting a lot of questions at Lanning about, can the SCA fix the playground? And so, okay. So the hope is that we can get the original person, the people who did the work to come back and fix things that weren't correct. Is that?
Yes, or provide us money to have someone qualified to actually put them in because they did a terrible job.
Okay. Okay. And second question was just about the position control roster.
Yes.
Thank you for saying it, because I was like,
Sure.
what are they talking about? PCR. What is that, and why were so many incorrect?
I can't answer why so many were incorrect. As I said, I've never been in it before. It's not
Yeah.
something a superintendent normally gets involved in, but we were forced to riff some staff earlier, and one of the staff members that we riffed was our human resources manager. And so I took on that role.
Yep.
And the position control roster became up to me to fix. And I noticed Dr. Riley mentioned to me that our kindergarten payroll account was consistently overdrawn. And the reason for that is position control is, so a job code,
Mhm.
so elementary teachers say.
Yep.
Or elementary teacher, kindergarten, location, Lanning, FM Brown, et cetera.
Yep.
And then another code at the end of that.
Mhm.
And then, so when you have, let's say we had 2, 4, 6, 8 teachers teaching kindergarten across the district.
Yeah.
The position controls said we had 9 or actually 12 teachers teaching kindergarten. So some of our first grade teachers are being charged to the kindergarten account. And so because I don't deal with looking at account balances, I was unaware. Dr. Riley brought it to my attention. We looked into why. I noticed there were several teachers that don't teach kindergarten that were identified as kindergarten teachers by this control roster, this unique position control. So when I started going through them, I decided to go through 100% of all of the staff in the district. It's a good thing because there were many codes that were wrong, many locations that were wrong, many charge to accounts that were not correct. So next year's budget will be easier in terms of the salaries and positions for Dr. Riley and I to budget for, because we have certain, I'll give you an example from special education. We have classification categories of LLD, like learning language disabled. That's a very significant disability, and we have specialized teachers that do that, and we have specialized paraprofessionals that work with those students. We had so many paras being charged to the LLD account that are not in LLD. They are in our general education classroom supporting special education students that are mainstreamed. So right there, we are going to be better able to predict salary costs based on having the correct position control roster.
Any other comments? Moving on to discussion item.
I just want to add one
Oh.
quick thing. I just think that it's important to note how, work like this, while it may not necessarily impact the dollar amount to the budget, this type of work that's being done is what creates a healthy district and a healthy budget. So I appreciate the time that was taken to do something like this because it's really important. Maybe not today is it going to change the bottom line, but when we're thinking 2 years, 4 years, 5 years out, it makes a difference. So just wanted to make note of that.
Moving on to discussion items. Is there any new business or old business that you have? No? None? Correspondence? None? All righty. Okay. What? There was just the one question if, that Keith had brought up regarding E, just if we could,
Do you want me to respond to that?
yeah, if you just give him a quick answer.
So what you are doing tonight, you are approving the award of contracts based on competitive, and one was a competitive contract and the other is bidding. Those contracts that you're awarding tonight represent bid out costs that will save the district a considerable amount of money because previously the district was engaging with vendors ad hoc without contract, many cases exceeding the quote and/or bid threshold. So this will bring that under control. We now have a contracted rate that was bid out and agreed upon. So upon the award of that, we'll do a full diagnostic evaluation of all the HV services. This is mainly for mechanical services. Of all the district's mechanical HVAC, and what that will allow us to do is also set a consistent maintenance plan, because I can tell you there was none. And so from the replacement of belts and filters and things that should be done, every 6 months, many of them haven't been done in years. And that takes a toll, right? You don't want a unit that, powers. I mean, you see, this one obviously works, but there are others and these units cost between some of the smaller ones from a couple $1,000s to several hundreds of thousands of dollars for the larger units. So this contract will help us not only right-size our maintenance, but be able to quickly and cost-effectively respond to those breakdowns that are unexpected.
And this will be from our maintenance reserve fund?
No,
account?
this is general funds. This is
General
from the
fund.
general fund.
Thank you.
It's the cost of, think of it as cost of operation of the buildings, general maintenance.
Moving on to our action items for resolutions for personnel. I need a motion to approve A1 through A10.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Knodig, seconded by
Second?
Mr. Perna. Are there any discussions?
Yes. Question on A1 and 2, as well as A8 and 9, A5 and A1. There are multiple instances of kind of like, I guess, churn that's kind of happening around paraprofessional resignations, as well as special ed leave replacement, where we've kind of split, into 2 prorated positions. Just wanted to confirm, that's, kind of a bit of an impact on special ed generally. Just wanted to get a sense of whether those shifts and changes kind of leave us with any sort of like deficit with regard to being able to adequately address the IEP needs of the special education students.
turnover in paraprofessionals are always going to affect
Yeah.
our special needs students. It is not unusual, however. It is, our paraprofessional salary guide is not competitive. In the last negotiations process, we agreed with the VEA that we need to improve that guide in an effort to reduce our reliance on agency paraprofessionals. And we could not come to agreement with the VEA on a salary guide for the paras. So the board kicked in $92,000 to improve the paraprofessional guide. And having said that, it is still not competitive. We are lucky that we're hiring paraprofessionals because West Orange and Montclair have downsized or outsourced their paras, so we have a lot of paras that are interested in working for us. We do not provide benefits to our para. Our starting salary is $20 an hour. So it's difficult to get people and keep them. In some of those that you're seeing tonight, there are good news. There are paras that are in the pipeline to become teachers, have gotten their certification, and are moving into teaching positions in other districts. The split job share at HBW that you mentioned, both Mrs. Machowski and Mrs. Emmert are experienced retired special education teachers. We were unable to secure a single person for that job. So Mrs. Machowski cannot do Thursdays, and Mrs. Emmert can. So they worked together the whole first week of, well, not the whole first week, but several days in the first week of school so that they can jive their style. And then Mrs. Emmert will be here on Thursdays, and Mrs. Machowski will be here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday to be with the kids. But that position is an in-class support position. So they are also with general education teachers that are consistent every day.
I can also offer to you that you, later in the agenda, are approving an additional competitive contract for paraprofessional services with an outside vendor, which will help us to locate in the need, if we find ourselves in need and have a vacancy, we're now competitively contracting with a vendor who is able to provide us with individuals to serve that need.
That's extremely helpful. And I guess along that same line, A8 and 9, we talked about updating our rates, substitute and bus driver rates. Is that competitive? Because I know we have this issue of apparently maybe potentially not being as competitive as surrounding areas.
We are now competitive with
We are now
surrounding areas. Yeah, I can't explain some of the decisions that were made in the past. Our bus driver salary was not competitive, but they gave the bus drivers a waiver for health benefits that they didn't qualify for in order to augment that. So I was kind of like, wait a minute, just give them a competitive salary. Yeah, I mean, bus drivers, there's a shortage even with across the board, right? So
I know, it's a big problem. Yeah,
but
thank
we just hired a custodian that has their CDL, right?
We did.
Yeah, so they can, depending on their shifts, they can drive for us.
You were taking a motion and that was discussion.
Thank you. I get sidetracked.
Sorry.
Could you please call roll? Thank
Ms.
you.
Ms. Kenotic,
Yes.
Mr. Boone,
Yes.
Mr. Perna,
Yes.
Mrs. Ferrera,
Yes.
Mrs. Prisco.
Yes,
The motion passes.
thank you. Moving on to our education resolutions, I need a motion to approve education resolutions B1 through B16.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Perna, seconded by
I'll second.
Mr. Boone. Are there any discussions?
I just have one quick question. So for B14, the revision specifically with respect to literacy 3.5, I know last year we rewrote for HMH, so do you know what?
Cursive handwriting,
Oh,
the
which
mandate.
is a new mandate,
Yeah, the
state
new
mandate.
mandate,
Okay,
yeah.
great. Thank you so
I'm
much.
thrilled for that, though.
I love writing in cursive.
I flunked that.
Dr. Riley, if you, oh, sorry.
I have a question for B1 for Dr. Lanzo. I mean, great, but can somebody explain why that has to be on the agenda if there's no cost to the
That's a great question. We never used to put any of our PD, our conferences on the agenda. It was a practice in my former district that we put everything on the agenda, and the reason being, if he gets in a car accident on his way, working under district time, he is covered by our insurance. I'll give you an example. I had a teacher in my former district that went into the Teachers College reunion, and debris fell from the top of a roof and hit her in the head, and she was hospitalized with concussion, and it had not been board approved because it was a Saturday. She didn't think she had to, she kind of went on her own, but she was there representing the district, and it's just not good practice. So you'll notice we're going to be approving all professional development when someone goes out of the district.
And then, just a question on B6, why we would be, this might get sensitive, why would we send someone out of district to Cedar Grove? What does Cedar
Oh.
Grove have that Verona does not?
Yes, that is they have an 18 to 21 program.
Okay,
So we don't have that, and sending them to a public school with a program versus a private school is much more economic.
sounds good.
And following on just quickly on that, are those costs already factored into the existing budget? Because those are, like, obviously these are big piece of the pie, these out of district
Yeah,
placement costs. Like, or is this like a new, you know what I mean? Like, is this like a surprise, or is this something that we've accounted for?
The Cedar Grove one we did not account for. That was a new student. So the Celebrate the Children, I think it's a change of placement, not a new placement. But Cedar Grove is a new student, and that's the reality of special education. People move here, and they have kids that are already placed out of district, and we have to honor those IEPs.
I also just to that point, and correct me if I'm wrong, but again, thinking about the work that's being done now to think about future, when we look at the life skills program that has been started, what was it, 2 years?
2 years ago. Yeah.
So that too, right, is the goal.
To keep our
still
students
to
here,
keep it
yes.
So that we can keep the 18 to 21 students in district as well.
We would have to expand that program.
Right, but we're in the.
Yeah, we're looking,
We're in
we're
the
moving,
first steps
yeah,
of.
we are.
Okay. Thank you.
And we also take tuition students from other public schools into our programs when we can.
Dr. Riley, if you could please call roll.
Ms. Canode,
Yes.
Mr. Boone,
Yes.
Mr. Perna,
Yes.
Ms. Ferrera, and Mrs. Prisco.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to our resolutions for athletics and co-curricular, I need a motion to approve resolutions C1 through C7.
So moved.
Who's that? Oh, motion by Ms. Knodig, seconded by
I'll second.
Mrs. Ferrara. Are there any discussions? Dr. Riley, if you could please call roll.
Ms. Canode, Mr. Boone,
Yes.
Mr. Perna,
Yes.
Mrs. Ferrara, Mrs. Prisco.
Yes. Thank you. Moving on to our facilities, motions to approve resolutions D1 through D2.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Boone, seconded by
Second?
Mr. Perna. Are there any discussions? Dr. Riley, if you could please call roll.
Ms. Canode, Mr. Boone,
Yes.
Mr. Perna,
Yes.
Mrs. Ferrara,
Yes.
Mrs. Prisco.
Yes.
That motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to our finance resolutions, I need a motion to approve resolutions E1 through E9.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion by Ms. Knodig, seconded by Mr. Boone. Are there any discussions?
Just a quick one on E5 that, 'cause I see like, something that could maybe, the bidding process, it looks like the lowest bidder was actually rejected because of some sort of mandatory defect with regard to, their acknowledgement. Just wanted to, I guess, query whether something like that could be contested. Or is it just very clear that this is, we're clearly within our rights to reject that lowest bid by virtue of state mandate or law, and not something that could then be, I guess, pushed or further contested?
Great question. The answer is yes to both. While it could be contested, That one reason of why it was rejected. However, that bid had 3 non-negotiable reasons that it was rejected. So if it wasn't that one, it would have been the other 2. That would have absolutely been rejected. So for the first one, the first reason, there is some wiggle room in there that it could be, but it had 2 other substantial failures.
That's helpful. My lawyer brain, I can't shut off my lawyer brain. I look at like potential litigation. So that's good.
Real quick, I don't have a question, I just have a comment about E9. I just would like to thank the First Presbyterian Church of Verona for their generous donation to FM Brown for their ShopRite gift cards. It's extremely generous, so thank you to the First Presbyterian Church on that. Moving on, just to have a vote, please. Dr. Riley?
Ms. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Boone?
Yes.
Mr. Perna?
Yes?
Mrs. Farrar?
Yes.
Mrs. Prisco?
Yes.
That motion passes.
And I'm just going to quickly go back real quick before we do governance and policy. I meant to mention before about this beautiful, the job that Carissa Walker has done in this Learning Commons. So I would like to give her a shout out. Learning Commons looks fantastic. So thank you, Ms. Walker, for all your hard work. Moving on to governance and policy, I need a motion to approve F1.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Boone, seconded by
Second.
Ms. Kennedy. Any discussion? Seeing none. Dr. Riley, if you could please call roll.
Ms. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Boone?
Yes.
Mr. Berner?
Yes.
Mrs. Farrar?
Yes.
Mrs. Prisco?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Fantastic, thank you. Moving on to public comments. Anyone from the public? You have 3 minutes. Please state your name, and you can speak on anything.
Hello. Hi, I'm Daniel Franco, Verona resident. I just wanted to speak today, not super formally, but I wanted to kind of use my time to pitch our district submitting an application for round 3 of the Department of Environmental Protection Electric School Bus Grant Program. I sent over an email about 2 weeks ago, but circumstances weren't great for communication at that point, so I didn't really get a final response. So I'm kind of here to re-pitch it again here today. So the grant would give us money for new electric school buses, either purchased or leased, and charging stations. The figures are, for us specifically, as we were just designated by the Department of Environmental Protection as an overburdened community, we get extra money as opposed to other districts. It would be $330,000 per bus and $8,000 per level 2 charging station, or $20,000 per DC charging station. So electric buses range in price, but I've seen other districts have gotten them for $370. So to replace our fleet is kind of a pretty good deal, considering our buses are starting to get pretty old.
Oh, that's not accurate. We
I
just
saw
bought
we
a
have
bus.
2010. We have one from the Motor Vehicle Commission. There was an inspection in 2010 for a 2010 Type C bus. So I saw that. Also, I know that we kind of have an administrative bottleneck a little bit here. Because some jobs were cut as a result of the FY27 budget, my counter to that is that the application gives you free upfront technical assistance through the New Jersey Fleet Advisor Program with no separate application that provides awardees with personalized fleet electrification roadmaps, including on-site electric infrastructure assessment, vehicle options, cost projections, and other recommendations to ensure a successful project. We would probably likely apply for the minimum specified, which is the 2 buses. And I think there's a lot of good reasons why we should do that. It give us leverage in our negotiations about shared services with the town, as we have a pre-existing vehicle sharing. So when we go with the cost value, we're hey, we're giving you these electric buses that as a possible option. So it's kind of more leverage. And also, there's nothing stipulated in the grant that you can't do a shared service agreement and rent it out to another school district. It's pretty close to Cedar Grove, and they don't own any buses in their own right. So it's possibly a revenue generating opportunity there. Again, from what I saw in the motor vehicle inspection records, we have a 2010 IC Corporation CE school bus. And according to industry data, I saw the mechanical useful life of a school bus is 12 to 15 years. So that's kind of past what we generally would want. I think statute allows us to go to 20, but it's not optimal in terms of fuel efficiency. And because electric school buses have an 80% less fuel cost and 50% less maintenance cost, and if the state's willing to pay a good amount of this, it's kind of something we should possibly look into. Also, I did some research. I went around town a little bit today, and I saw there's some pre-existing compatible CCS1 chargers in the area at the West Orange Superfast station at 8 Rooney Court. That's like a super fast charger. And
Is that rated for buses?
yes. And also, I called the one at 900 Bloomfield Avenue, and they said their slower charger would also work with the bus, and 100 Bloomfield Ave. That one's a little more expensive, so you probably wouldn't want to go to that one, but it's an option. And then as for leasing, you can also lease the bus if upfront costs are like an issue as part of the grant. I saw other districts that budgeted $25,000 annually for an electric bus lease. That's on like the lower end, but I have seen it. So that's a possibility. And I understand that like potentially like you won't want to trust me on this, but I'm gonna cite Jorge Cruz, who I think some of you know, our former business administrator. He actually submitted this exact same grant request in 2022, but before we were an overburdened community, which would have given us at that point like less money, and we would have gotten less preference for the grant. And he did this in 2022 when EVs were also less efficient as opposed to how they are today. So because now we're considered an overburdened community, it kind of specified and like pushed for us in terms of the grant criteria to get this grant. The application I saw is pretty simple. It's just like build out a sample budget and a timeline. Like there's no like long answers from what I saw, from what I looked in like the application. It's due August 28th. So I would like highly encourage to please check that out because it's something that could save us money for like 15 like years to come. Also, I noticed when you said that we hired a custodian with a CDL. So I was just thinking, like, what about stipending like coaches and giving them preference in hiring to get a CDL, or something along the lines of like something like
We
that?
have offered, and many districts have offered their coaches to get CDL. It's not that easy to get. Yeah, it's
Well,
not
yeah,
that easy to
but-
get, no.
I just know over the summer, if that's a possible option to try to push that a little more.
Well, you know, and our coaches don't necessarily want to drive the bus. They want to
Yeah.
work with the kids
Yeah.
while the bus drivers are driving the bus. So
Yeah.
it's not, there's not a lot of incentive for them to do it.
Yeah. I just know that we've had some delays in busing to the point, and coaches have expressed frustration in that.
Yeah.
And I also heard from teachers that they would be more than willing to do this in the district, for clubs or and also they coach as well, some of them. So
They're talking to you, they're not talking to me.
I'm just saying.
But the electric bus, when I responded to you, I'm an electric vehicle driver. I am very pro-electric vehicle. I'll take a look at it if it's, I just got back from vacation, so.
Yeah, but it's due 28th, so.
I understand.
If again, it's like, if you could please look into that, thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Hi, Keith Bajonas, Verona resident. Actually, my high school social studies teacher was the cross-country coach of my high school, and he drove the bus. And he ran with us too, so he was kind of all things to all kids. So I kind of second that. The two things that I wanted to bring up. So I know Ms. Canodig asked the question around the summer maintenance and how that was funded. Sounded like you were satisfied with the answer. I wasn't satisfied with the answer, so I'd like to just understand how that set us back from a budget perspective. And I get it, we need to do the maintenance, but just wondering where that's coming from. The second piece is Mr. Boone and Mr. Verona and myself, we all spoke at the town council meeting last week. There's another pilot that's coming up. The deputy mayor was fairly strident. I didn't appreciate his tone in terms of explaining how the schools don't get money taken away from them with pilot funds. That's true, but it also doesn't give the school district any funding. There was a big kerfuffle about the shared services and how those are baked in, and that's part of the reason why they're not giving the school district any funding as well. So this is for the redevelopment of the Hillcrest Farms site. They're going to vote on this. Councilman Shore was, very down to earth and, came forward around how, as a child in special services and special needs, and would work with the council and would make sure that the district was actually getting the funding. I believe he's appointed, and I don't know if he's lasting through to the end of, the
He's got an
term.
unexpired term.
Yeah, so I guess what I'm bringing up is, my question is, how is the council going to engage with the town? It seems to be not the best relationship. I think the mayor as well just defended, why they were doing the pilots, but there was absolutely no discourse on why the schools wouldn't get any funding. And we brought it up.
We would love to get funding.
I get it. No, and we would love you to get
Yeah.
funding, but there
We've
was a
been asking.
request to engage. There was a request for transparency around the budget. I've seen the budget. I didn't get a lot of transparency from looking at the budget during last year's budget discussions. So I guess my question is, how are we planning on engaging? What can we do as a community? I understand everybody's in fiscal straits. I understand why the pilots are being done. I really don't understand why the district wouldn't get funding from it. And again, I think we want to mobilize this community and support the district. I understand, again, it's going to be great property and there's some traffic concerns around like where things are going to be, but ultimately, I think we have a chance now and a window with Councilman Shore, but I just want to make sure that the tone that was struck by the deputy mayor and the mayor is recognized as not being in the best interest of the school district, and I'm optimistic that we can find common ground to make this work for our kids.
So I just want to say that I think we have a very positive relationship. This is my third school district. This is the best relationship between the council as a township and the school district that I've experienced. And I do want to point out, we have a shared services agreement, so they give us services, we provide services back to them as well. We appreciate those services. If they were to go away, we would spend a lot more money on mowing our lawns and clearing our sidewalks and the streets and our driveways. But we also provide our fields for use. We provide our schools for summer rec and for recreation, which would be a cost to the township if they had to take. And we appreciate the relationship between especially the DPW and reached out on many occasions to discuss pilot. The issue with the pilot, I think now, and I did not attend that meeting, nor did I watch it yet. I had been away. I think what we're talking about now, they won't receive those funds for many years, right? Because they haven't even started. Right. It's just in the approval process. So hopefully by the time we're getting closer to that, we can have more productive talks about whether or not they're going to provide the school district with funding to support any students that may come from those buildings. The only pilot funds they're collecting right now, I believe, are the inn and lofts, that one, and then flats.
And I just want to, I'm sorry, I just want to refer back specifically to the Monday meeting that you were at, and Mr. Parna as well. I really want to underscore that this is and has been and will continue to be a collaborative relationship. And then also, I want to underscore just, again, and I'll have a question for Dr. Riley here in a moment, that the pilot program is not, I mean, yes, the town takes advantage of the pilot program, but one way to look at it, at least the way I like to look at it, is that the state is putting a bowl of M&Ms in front of towns across the state of New Jersey. And I don't know about you, but if you put a bowl of M&Ms in front of me, I'm going to eat them, even though I know that it's not really all that good for me, and it might hurt other people or other programs. And so the issue of the pilot program, as Ms. Ferrara is very well aware of, is at the state level. And, you know, along with us having a continued discussion with our friends at the town, we also need community to continue to raise these concerns all the way up at the state level. Now, the one thing that and this is where I really need to defer to Dr. Riley for maybe a 36,000-foot view of how pilot funding impacts a school district. And it doesn't have to be Verona. So, you know, when I'm asking Dr. Riley for his perspective, I'm not saying, okay, this is how Verona does it, but in general, what the impact is on community A, you know, you give it a generic name, and looking at that view, what happens, just so that we all understand, because I think if we reflect back on that town council meeting, our friends on the town council, everything they were saying was not untrue. It's just how you look at it, really. And
Can I just add one quick thing? I think it's important to note too, that, and I'm gonna speak for myself right now, right, as a board member, but we recognize that the projects that were past pilot projects, that money's done, right?
Right.
We're not asking, we're not looking for that, we understand that. And I also understand that future monies is nowhere to be seen yet. But what I would like to see is that we think about now, meaning what is going to be put in place so that in the future, whatever that may be, whenever that may be, there's a plan in place, and we don't find ourselves in a situation where it's 5 years down the road, we have 2 more pilots or 1 more pilot or whatever it is, and we're trying to play catch up. We already know that this is impacting the schools and the town. This is not a one-way street, right? So my hope is that we can sit back down and that we can have that seat at the table that we did request during our joint meeting to put a plan in place, put a plan on paper. It is not to say that we're gonna get a check in 6 months. I don't think any of us, I know myself, right? I don't think that, but I would like to see us move forward with a specific plan that the board knows, or the board agrees with, the council agrees with, the community understands and knows, so that we don't have this angst of uncertainty. So I just really, for myself, that is a goal. Also, you know, as a board, and while this didn't have much teeth, right? But we did put together a resolution. We went and presented it. It passed at the, you know, New Jersey school boards, which is the first small step of bringing it to the state level. You know, I think that we need to continue that work. I want to continue that work. But again, just going back to our relationship with the town council, there's nothing, you know, I don't believe that there's anything more important than collaborative, healthy relationships. And I want to make sure to keep that. But I want to sit down. I want to have an opportunity for us to make that future plan.
So from a 36,000-foot view, and excuse me if, you know, if you know this already, but pilot funding is intended on the municipal side to incentivize development. Generally, it was a product of, you know, often urban areas that were underdeveloped. It was a mechanism to incentivize development. So now the evolution of that finds a variety of reasons and questions surrounding why pilots are being agreed upon. Important to keep in mind, though, I think, is your normal property tax revenue is proportionally split amongst the school district, the township, and the county, basically. The library is in there, kind of in there as well. And so your normal tax revenue split is generally a proportion of those entities, whereas a pilot in and of itself, by definition, creates a disconnect in funding because of how funds are distributed, right? So depending on the agreement, because they're not all the same, it likely creates a disproportionality, a disproportionate relationship of the funding that is allocated to the township, thereby subjugating or skipping the school district. Now, the issue there doesn't necessarily have a direct impact on the school district until such time as the projects yield additional school-age children who come to attend the schools. And so then the district has to assume the cost to educate those children. And whereas, you know, the majority of which could be general education costs, keep in mind that sometimes those children incur other extraordinary costs through special education, transportation, and so on. And so what that does is the improved value of the pilot property in and of itself kind of becomes removed from the rateable tax structure, from the rateable tax base on which our tax levy is based, right? So what happens is that the district does not enjoy any of the revenue to offset the cost of the additional enrollment of students. That kind of shifts the burden. I'll take it one step further. It shifts the burden of the increased costs from the school district onto the ratables, those of us who are paying taxes, the existing ratable taxpayers. So, and then that complicates, what complicates it all even more is the 2% tax cap, or 2% tax levy cap, right? So you take the burden on the district, you place it back on those who are already paying taxes, and then it further exacerbates the issue of the tax cap. Now, all that to say, there are ways to work these things out, right? There can be a voluntary interlocal revenue sharing, which is basically what you're asking for consideration of. There is also some pending legislation, you know, the genesis of where you started all of that work, 2-3 years ago. There is pending legislation to mandate sharing of municipal pilot revenues, and there's a couple of considerations for all those, and all those things are being considered at the legislative level. I think what you all touched on is a really key piece, is that establishing, keeping, maintaining, whatever, the meaningful dialogue is super important in this conversation. One of the things that I will say about the Flats project is that we did have a conversation with the township manager. That specific project, it is unlikely that it will yield additional school-age children. I believe there's only 1 3-bedroom unit in there, and I don't think all of the iterations are all worked out there. I don't remember all the details of that, but okay, so maybe that changed from the conversation that we had back in March.
Several months ago.
And again, I don't want to
with
speak
the
out of turn with that.
township.
I'll keep it at the 36,000 foot level. You know, I hope that kind of summation kind of brings it together.
I would add one more thing, and I'm sorry for the intercourse here, but there is a virtuous cycle of property values based on the value of the school district. So the rankings that the superintendent was bringing up factor into how much then my house is assessed at, irrespective of whether or not I have children in the district, which is a point that I feel that we should press upon. It's lost on the council. The improvement value of the building is what isn't being taxed. And same thing with Annan. I don't believe that any of the improvement value is being assessed, and they're just looking at the number of kids that are there, but the value of having a strong school district brings up
Everybody's.
property values,
yes.
and as well as the tax revenues, and that's what goes to the school.
The rising tide raises all ships, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, but I think, and again, at a high level, again, community A, no town named, is that the important thing is for a school board and a town council to have a path where they can work together. It's not the school board's business to understand how the town is spending their money. They can do whatever they want in their other areas. That's not our place to say. Our goal, our mission is to have a chain of command, or a chain of conversation with them, with our business administrator, with our superintendent, and their representatives on the best path forward, regardless of whatever else they're doing with their money. That's how we need to channel our conversations.
And I think the point Mr. Pajonas brought up about property values, we know that there was a reassessment done. We know that that reassessment resulted in, while some homes came down in tax assessment, many of the Verona residents went up. That will have a negative impact on our state aid next year. So we already saw that the state health benefit plan is going up by more than 30%. That we don't participate in that. It will affect the state health benefit costs for other benefits providers. We can assume that our health benefits will go up above the 20% mark again, or at least at that mark this year. It's going to be another very tough budget year. And if our state aid is negatively affected by the reassessment of the township's home values, it's just going to compound the problems that we have, and we don't really have anywhere else to cut. So it would be nice if we could have a productive conversation.
So,
Point, and I brought this up maybe a year or two ago, and I think this is what you're referring to, but the equalization,
Yes.
right? So we're 2 years ago, right? I brought up to Jorge and said, well, we don't think that that's going to happen. Well, now if you look at houses that are selling 1.6 million, 1.7 million, these are houses that were selling at 700,000 5 years ago. We are going to be impacted by that.
We are.
Significantly. And again, I think this goes back to, putting that plan in place now for what we know is going to happen. And with the Mount Laurel ruling that all towns have to follow, right? There's no question with that. We are also going to have more properties that are built. We have to. Like, we know this is happening, and it just goes to reinforce the importance of putting this plan in place.
to Mrs. Ferrara's point there, and maybe this is for Mrs. Prisco or our superintendent, our business administrator, what is the next step? I believe it was it'll be 2 years ago this fall, or March, excuse me, that we spoke with the town. What is the next steps? I mean, it feels like we've been talking about talking, so, what's the next step?
So we've been discussing this. I've been on the board now 7 years.
And it goes
Mrs.
back, and
Freshy?
it dates prior to your tenure here.
Yes, absolutely. Mrs. Freshy was Denise Rosella, Diana Ferrara. Myself, I attended a board, spoke at one of our council meetings when the flats were being developed. Conifer was there and presented and said it wasn't going to affect the schools. And I got up and I spoke at that meeting, and it's on recording saying that we are going to be in trouble at some point. We wrote letters to Senator Corrado. I have a letter here, that's what I was looking up, from August of 2024. We sent letters to their office. I've been down to the assembly as well, trying to get it changed as well there, because I'm the representative for District 40 for Verona. So I've been down to Trenton on that. It's just, here we are. We're the same where we were 7, 8, 9 years ago.
So does
I
it-
would think we would like to have another meeting with the council. It seems that for the first time at the council meeting, it seems like I wasn't there, but I did watch the meeting. It does seem like there is a little bit more saying that they understand, and with this project, we need to sit down at the table. Councilman Shore was very much
and it's
for that.
Projects, plural.
And I think it's just making sure that we get to be at that table, like when we had our joint meeting, that we are at the table come discussions for the next round of pilots.
Yeah, so how do we do, what, does it require somebody, in the administration, or does it require somebody from the board sending a letter? What is that next step?
I think protocol would be the board reaching out to the council.
You've had meetings with the
We've-
town
we've-
manager,
yeah,
so I
we've-
feel like you've
Right.
satisfied
Yeah,
your,
we've had meetings with the town manager and the
Yeah.
Yeah, I
deputy
mean, I
town
have no-
manager.
the conversation that came up on the record the other night was, two town council members, two board of ed members, maybe get together, have initial discussions. There was angst from.
Diana Ferrara and I did that how many years ago? We did do
There
that
was
with,
two
of them. So
unsurprisingly, the board
we-
members had angst about lack of conversations that have not taken place. And that was met with we have time, this won't affect anything, there's no money coming in for a while. Again,
and I do,
these back and forths have.
right,
voting
and
in 2
they've been
weeks,
going
I
back and forth, and I do,
Yes.
I have to say, I understand the whole shared service agreements. On paper, numbers, maybe the town pays a lot more money to the district for certain things if you take a pen and pencil on a napkin and figure out dollars. But that's not the point. We can't look at the shared services, I'm sorry about that, because if the Board of Education told the township, and in my role with the town as Director of Community Services, if Dr. Riley and Mrs. DiGiuseppe came to the town and said, the town cannot use our schools for our rec camps, our basketball programs, all of the programs that benefit our children, we'd be in trouble. The town would be, people would be upset about that. So the shared service agreement, I understand it, but we provide a lot to the town provides a lot to us, our police department, our public works. We have a great relationship with the town, and I don't want to see that change at all. But with these pilots, obviously, if the state's looking at changing things, we need to work together and get a seat at the table for the next pilot.
I think also, and then I'll be, but, it's like a family, right? We are all here as one community. All members of the family have to participate in the conversation and participate in the goals in order for it to be healthy. So, what I propose is perhaps now that we have the doors open, right? I think we can all agree. So what I propose is maybe we do request another joint meeting so that with a very specific purpose and with a specific agenda, not to have a conversation about what we can do, but to say, what are 3 actionable items? I'm speaking off the cuff here, but what are 3 actionable items that we can discuss during this meeting that we may be able to have to come to an agreement on, right? And then that's step 1. And then we go from there and we continue this conversation. It's something that we have been working towards, but I do think that it's time now to put another joint meeting on the calendar, whether it be, before the new year, after the new year, after elections, whatever it is. But I do think that it's important that we do that so that we don't continue talking in our silo and then the council is talking in their silo. We need to all come together. We are all serving, whether it be on the board or for the council. We're serving because we love this community. We're serving because we want the best for it. And we have different paths that we're taking, right? But at the end of the day, we're all going to the same place. So maybe we see if we can get something on the calendar and then we go from there.
Just one more thing. I wanted to make sure you got the answer to the question that you asked earlier. Dr. Riley, I had asked about the summer maintenance, and my specific question was more or less, were there any surprises, right? Like around this. I took your response to mean no, not necessarily surprising, but we're being proactive with regard to the maintenance to head off a situation where you might have more of an issue later on down the road. But perhaps you can expand a little bit about that in terms of more specifically around where that budgeting is coming from or the funding for those.
Our maintenance account.
So in the building of a yearly financial plan for the district, we include sizable costs for that which it takes to operate plant management, right? So the fund that it takes to operate the plant, from the lights, the heat, the air conditioning, the HVAC, to the routine maintenance, the boiler maintenance, yearly inspections, all of that is general maintenance in the general fund. So, to date, the fiscal year has only been opened for, going on almost 2 months. And so there haven't been any, surprises. Knock wood, there aren't, because, the mechanism by which, if we have surprises, is reserve accounts. Now, we have very limited reserve accounts, so we have to be very careful when you're running 6 buildings, 4 of which are well over 100 years old, 3 of which still use steam boilers. That would be one of those going down, and many of the buildings have 2. One of those going down would be a massive and devastating cost. So we have to be very careful about how we allocate and what we choose to use our resources on. We have to be careful about our savings account, our reserve accounts. That being said, I'm very comfortable with where we are and how we're spending our money to operate our plant in the general fund.
So these measures are about efficiency and making better choices to handle those costs that are inelastic, right?
Am I fair to say what I just heard from Dr. Riley there is what my takeaway is, it's the cost of doing business?
Yeah.
That's,
And keep in mind, all those costs are going up. Electricity just went up, and you see it in your bills at home. Your electricity bill just went up last month. Expect another one. It's 8.8%. That electricity is going up since June 30th.
First, I want to say I think it's great to say all the things that you guys just said out loud, on the record, you know, holding people accountable when we say we're going to talk, we're moving toward that. Second, I just had 2 totally unrelated questions to each other. One is, when we talk about a program like the HMH reading that I think you said you were supportive of, and it's new, at what point do you talk to the staff to see how they felt about it and how it goes?
So when you implement a new program, part of good best practice when implementing a new program is taking data on the validity and the success of the program. So Mrs. Peter has put out some surveys to staff. She will continue to do that. She takes anecdotal data when she meets with each grade level about how it's going. It's not generally after the first year. It's generally after the second year, because after the first year, it's still very clunky in terms of the understanding of. And HMH is a program that has lots of moving parts. Like, it's got lots of resources, and in year 1, it's overwhelming to have all of those resources, and how do we implement them. So this is our second year with it. We will begin to really take more data. The interesting thing is that Mrs. Peter is, it's not on the agenda yet, but Mrs. Peter will be going out on maternity leave. So she will communicate with me, and I'll do some of that data management to make sure that we have the information as to whether or not the program is effective. We do know that the program, because it's been implemented in other districts, is an effective program. We did our research before adopting it. But it's just how well it's working for our teachers with the support that we can give them. We will continue to collect that information.
Second question, like I said, different. The trimesters. I know at least the first schedule is in place. But what's the plan for sort of filling parents in on this new year in the elementary levels? Like, what this looks like for them, and at what point do they kind of get to know that, now that we're very close to school starting?
Well, so for the students, their days are not going to change, right? They're going to have one special a day, the way they did in the past.
Okay.
They will have fewer number of specials across all 3 trimesters. So that's the only thing that's changing. They will still get a special a day. The principals will communicate that to the parents when everything goes home to them with regarding student schedules, like what day is PE, what days are PE, what day is music, what day is art, what day is library. We only scheduled the first trimester to make sure that it's going to work appropriately for our moving specials, those people that are going to more than 2 buildings. And then once we understand that the way it was scheduled is workable, they will schedule trimesters 2 and 3.
Yes.
I just want to ask one more question about where the status is on a PPA. I was told by Mr. Riley at one point that there was like an assessment done. So I was just wondering if there was any status, any update on that at all.
You guys want me to respond?
I don't know. I'm not sure. What?
On the solar PPA?
Oh, the solar PPA.
Yeah.
So there is an assessment, there's an energy assessment, energy efficiency assessment being done. We had an energy audit conducted at the beginning of the summer. They're still collecting the data. We have we have some feedback on some of the fixtures and things like that. We have nothing yet from DCO on solar.
So are you doing like an ESIP, like in total, like again, or is it specifically like a PPA?
I just said we have no response back from DCO yet on any recommendations that they're going to make.
Yeah, but is the like audit, you said there was also fixtures as well, that would be like part of like an ESIP, like a bigger, no? It's just like a specific, what's the audit like targeted at specifically?
Looking at ways to maximize efficiencies. So that goes from fixtures to light bulbs. They literally counted every light bulb, looked at the model number of every light bulb. So looking at from think of it like greater to smaller, any possible way that we could maximize efficiencies.
And we didn't have to like go out to bid for that, it's just part of the process where like the proceeds will be paid back from the energy efficiencies, right?
We're still waiting from DCO to give us recommendations.
Okay.
That we haven't received yet.
Got it. Is there any timetable on when we're getting that? Or no, not yet?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Our next scheduled public meeting will be held on September 8th, 2026, beginning with confidential session at 6 p.m. and public session at 7 p.m. in the Verona High School Learning Commons. I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Boone, seconded by
Second.
Ms. Knodig. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. It is 8:43 p.m. and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Have a
Thank
great
you.
night. Enjoy the last few